It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday morning, until a luxury SUV rolled straight into my workshop like it owned the place. The engine roared, gravel cracked under the tires, and before I could even wipe the grease from my hands, the driver stepped out, sunglasses on, phone in hand, attitude fully loaded. She looked around my metal fabrication shop as if she were inspecting her new vacation home. "I'm Karen from the HOA," she announced, not even saying hello. "You'll need to move some things. I'll be parking here for a while." I blinked, confused. My workshop was clearly marked private property. My business license hung right beside the entrance. Sparks were literally flying from the welding station behind me. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this is a working shop. You can't park here. The public lot is across the street." She laughed. Not the friendly kind, but the kind that says rules don't apply to me. "The HOA owns this neighborhood," she said smugly, "so technically, this space falls under our authority." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't going to be a normal day. I tried to keep things polite. Running a business teaches you patience. Over the years, I've learned that staying calm can solve problems faster than raising your voice. Customers come first, drama comes last. That's the rule I've always followed, no matter how stressful things get. But Karen wasn't a customer. She didn't ask questions, she didn't show respect. Instead, she walked around my workshop like she was inspecting a property she had just bought. Her heels clicked loudly on the concrete floor as she slowly moved past my workbench, glancing at everything with a look of disapproval. The sound of machines humming and metal clinking filled the air, but she seemed completely unfazed by the obvious signs that this was an active workplace. She pulled out her phone and started taking photos of everything. My tools neatly arranged on the wall, my welding equipment, the storage racks, and even my safety warning signs. Every click of her camera felt like another step into unnecessary trouble. "This looks messy," she muttered under her breath, shaking her head as if she were deeply disappointed. Messy? This was a working metal shop, not a furniture showroom. Every tool had a purpose, every mark on the floor told a story of hard work, and every piece of equipment represented years of dedication. "I might need to report this," she added casually, as if the thought had just crossed her mind. I paused for a moment, trying to understand what exactly she meant. Report my own workshop? To me? I walked toward her calmly and explained the situation in the most respectful way possible. I told her that this property had been mine long before the neighborhood association even existed. My workshop had operated here for years without any issues. I had all the proper permits, safety inspections, and legal documentation required to run the business. To make things even clearer, I invited her into my small office near the entrance and showed her the land ownership documents carefully stored in a folder. The papers clearly showed the boundaries of the property and confirmed that my workshop was completely independent from the residential area managed by the HOA. But she didn't even look at them. Instead of reviewing the documents, she gave a small shrug, as if the facts didn't matter. She walked back outside without saying much, completely ignoring the evidence I had just presented. Then she sat inside her SUV, rolled the window halfway down, and gave me a confident smile that felt more like a challenge than a conversation. "I'll be here all week," she said calmly. "Get used to it." Before I could respond, she pressed the lock button, stepped out of the vehicle, and casually walked down the street as if she had just parked in her own driveway. Just like that, she left her vehicle parked right in the center of my work area. It wasn't just inconvenient, it was a serious problem. The SUV was blocking access to heavy machinery that needed space to operate safely. My delivery truck couldn't enter the loading area. Employees had to move carefully around the vehicle just to continue their work. Every step became slower. Every task became harder. The normal rhythm of the workshop was interrupted. The sound of grinding tools and welding sparks continued, but now there was tension in the air. My team kept looking at me, silently asking the same question. What do we do now? Every minute that SUV sat inside the workshop, my business was losing money. Deadlines were getting tighter, orders were getting delayed, clients were expecting results, and my patience was slowly running out. Now, I'm not the type of person who enjoys conflict. I've always believed that arguments usually create more problems than solutions. Over the years, running a workshop has taught me that staying calm under pressure is one of the most valuable skills a person can have. Machines break, orders get delayed, suppliers make mistakes, but panic never fixes anything. Patience and smart thinking usually do. But while I avoid conflict, I never avoid solving a problem. By noon, I had already contacted the local parking authority to explain the situation. I gave them all the details, the location, the ownership documents, and the fact that the vehicle was blocking a commercial workspace. The officer on the phone sounded understanding, but there was a complication. Since Karen had claimed that the homeowners association had authority over the area, they needed time to verify the land ownership records before taking any official action. Time was exactly what I didn't have. Every hour that SUV stayed parked in the middle of my workshop was affecting productivity. My team was trying their best to continue working, but the space felt tighter and more stressful than usual. Large metal sheets had to be carried carefully around the vehicle. Equipment that normally moved freely now had to be pushed slowly through narrow gaps. Even a small mistake could cause damage, not just to the car, but to expensive tools and important customer projects. That SUV wasn't just inconvenient, it was dangerous. Welding produces sparks that can travel several feet. Metal cutting tools create heat and vibration. Heavy materials need space to be transported safely. Workshops are designed with movement in mind, and any unexpected obstacle increases the risk of accidents. My employees were literally stepping around the vehicle just to complete simple tasks. I could see the frustration on their faces, but they stayed professional and focused on their work. That's when my assistant, who had been observing the situation quietly, tried to lighten the mood with a joke. "You should just weld it shut so she can't get in," he said with a small laugh. A few of us chuckled. It was one of those comments you don't really take seriously, at least not at first. But the idea stayed in my mind. Not the part about damaging anything, that was never an option. I take pride in my work, and professionalism comes first. However, the concept of creating a safe boundary around the vehicle, that was something worth thinking about. If the car was going to remain inside an active work zone, then safety precautions were necessary. So I came up with a solution that was practical, harmless, and completely reversible. Using my professional skills, I carefully designed a temporary metal safety frame around the driver's side door of the SUV. The structure didn't touch or harm the vehicle itself. Instead, it created a protective barrier that ensured no one could open the door directly into an active welding area where sparks and equipment movement could create risk. Every measurement was precise, every weld was controlled. The frame was stable, secure, and easy to remove when the situation was resolved properly. Technically speaking, I was improving workplace safety. By the end of the day, the SUV was neatly surrounded by a clean metal structure that clearly marked the boundaries of the active work zone. It didn't damage the vehicle in any way, but it made one thing very clear: the workshop was not a parking space. My team finally had room to work safely again. And just when everyone expected the situation to continue, I did something even more unexpected. I packed my bags, set an out-of-office reply on my email, and boarded a flight to Hawaii. Sometimes the best way to handle stress is to let the solution speak for itself while you enjoy a little peace and quiet. 2 days later, my phone exploded with notifications. I was sitting on a quiet beach listening to the relaxing sound of ocean waves when my phone began buzzing non-stop. At first, I thought it was just routine work updates or messages from clients checking on their orders. But as I picked up the phone, I quickly realized something much bigger had happened. Missed calls, emails, text messages, even a few voicemails. Karen had returned. Apparently, she had confidently walked back to the workshop, expecting to simply unlock her SUV and drive away like nothing had happened. But instead of an easy exit, she was greeted by the carefully constructed metal safety frame surrounding the driver's side door of her SUV.
The structure made one thing very clear. Entering the vehicle from that side would require stepping into an active work zone, an area marked with clear safety warnings and restricted access signs, which, according to workplace safety regulations, she was not authorized to enter without proper supervision. From what I later heard from my team, Karen stood there in complete disbelief, staring at the situation, trying to understand what she was looking at. The same confidence she had shown earlier had now been replaced with visible frustration. She immediately began making calls. First, she contacted the HOA, explaining that her vehicle was somehow blocked inside a commercial workshop. She demanded that the issue be resolved immediately, expecting the association to step in and enforce authority just like she had assumed before. The HOA then contacted me. When I answered the call, I kept my tone calm and professional,